So today's topic, we're talking about how I saved my life, how I changed my life, how I upgraded my life, however you want to call it, the changes that took place in my life that made my life 10 times better. So reason why I want to talk about this is because a lot of people are going through things that either in it right now, it feels impossible, or they don't know if it's something that they can make it through. And I wanted everybody to know that um, even though things look one way on the outside, you don't know what a person's backstory is. You never know what they've been through. So I do want to share how I saved my life, what happened to me in my young adult years, what I've been through, how I triumphed over them, and essentially give you steps that you can take to triumph over them as well. So first things first, what happened to you, Lexi? What are you talking about? What happened in your life? What was your situation? Well, my bad situation was a couple of things. And I always have my notes just in case, y'all, because I don't like forgetting things. But when I was like 22, 23, 24, the situation occurred where I got married. Mistake number one, okay? Everybody might not agree with that, but I was too young to be getting married. So that was my number one mistake, number one bad situation I was in. I got married and I had a kid, okay? And I had dropped out of college. So you got all these things going on. I'm married, I dropped out of college, I had a kid. My life wasn't on the path that I thought that it was going to be at that age. I thought I was going to be done finished school. I thought that I wasn't gonna get married so soon, maybe, or maybe I didn't. I don't exactly know. But these are the things that were happening at the time. And the reason why I dropped out of school was because I owed my school money. At the time, I owed them $5,000. You know, when you're 21, 22 years old, especially back then, you felt like $5,000 was the biggest debt in the world, and probably still feel like that. You know, $5,000 is nothing that person just can come up with overnight, especially somebody that's 21 years old and you're being told, well, if you don't pay this $5,000, then you can't go to school. So, you know, what other choice did I feel like I had other than to drop out of school? So I had dropped out of college, you know, I got married, met this guy, had a kid. It just was a long road during that relationship. And that's a whole other video. Okay. But this is the situation that I was in. So because I had dropped out of school, because I had a baby, you know, I had a husband, I had to support myself some way, somehow. What I ended up doing was getting a job at an assembly line. Okay. The assembly line job helped me pay the bills. But the truth of the matter is, the assembly line job, I knew in my heart that I was like, you know, this is not what I expected. You know, this is not where I wanted my life to go. So this is just a high level, you know, explanation of the stuff that I was going through at the time, where I felt a little hopeless. I felt like, how am I going to fix this? You know, I owe this school $5,000. They holding my transcripts. I can't go nowhere else. You know, I'm married, but he ain't acting right, you know, and I don't know if I want to do this. Now, mind y'all, this is a great example of how I knew that it wasn't going to work out. I never even changed my last name, which is crazy. But I just knew. I just had a feeling, you know. So by this time, I got my son. I'm working at the assembly line. It's just, I felt like it wasn't what I expected was going to happen with my life. Needless to say, me and him got divorced. So not only was I married young, I divorced young too. So I married when I'm 22, 23, 24, however old I was, child. And then I'm divorced too. So I had to go move back home with my folks. And this is the part where I wanted to let y'all know that these are some of the steps and these are some of the reasons why I feel like my life improved. My life was changed, or quote unquote, I saved my own life with the help of the Lord, but I'll get to that. Number one thing that I credit is what saved my life is my foundation. Now, granted, everyone doesn't have a strong foundation. Everyone doesn't have a solid foundation. If you do have a foundation that you might be running from, I'm talking to you. If you do have a foundation that you know was solid, but you went astray, I'm talking to you. And what are the things that were solid in my foundation? Number one, my parents were still alive and they were still well, and they had instilled in me information about God. Okay. To me, that is ultimately, and if you hear me reference God, I'm talking about Jesus. Okay. God was the number one thing that was in my foundation. The number two thing was my parents themselves. After I got divorced, I moved back home with my mom and dad and my son. That's what we had to do. What other choice did I have? Yeah, I could have maybe got me an apartment and everything, but I'm in the process of building myself up. So thank goodness, thank God, I had this strong foundation in my folks to let me come back home. And another thing I credit with that foundation is my mom and dad, specifically my dad, taught me a lot about God, about men, about relationships, and about being confident. You guys, I say this with the most humble heart. Your girl is confident, okay? I don't care if I weigh 110 pounds or 310 pounds. I know that I am a confident person because if I don't believe in myself, who will? You gotta believe in yourself. You gotta believe in yourself. I'm not telling you to be arrogant. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm telling you to be confident. Okay, that was another huge factor in my foundation, was being a confident individual, because you can't move forward in fear. You can't move forward if you're scared. You have to be confident, even if you're not sure. So like I was saying before my video was so rudely interrupted, you can be a confident person and moving in fear at the same time. And truthfully, that's pretty much what you have to do in order to survive in this life. When it came down to my solid foundation, I really am a huge believer in like karma and reaping what you sow. I'm the type of person where I want to put in positivity into this world so that I can reap positivity. You want to make moves that are not just selfish driven, but you want to be able to pour into somebody else or just make positive moves, because what's going to happen, whatever you sow, you're going to reap those benefits back. So that's something that, again, was a part of the foundation that was taught to me. Another component, I've always wanted to make my parents proud of me. It's just something that I've always wanted to do. As growing up as a child, most kids do want their parents to be proud of them. Look at me, look what I did here, look what I did there. And then I became a mom. So with me becoming a mom, the desire to make sure that I was making the right moves in life that they would be proud of was even stronger. So ultimately, a support system, a solid foundation, these are crucial when it came down to me changing my life. And I know some people who might be listening to this might say they don't have that, or they don't have this, or they don't. That's another video, because sometimes your support system will come in a form that maybe you weren't born with. My mom was actually a foster child. Another video altogether. But she turned out to be a successful RN. She credits her foster mother for supporting her throughout her life. Next thing I wanted to talk about was self-esteem and self-awareness. Having self-esteem and having self-awareness is important when it comes down to improving your life, saving your life, changing your life. It's crucial. So I say self-awareness because, now remind you, I was married. I was divorced. But I didn't blame him for everything that went wrong. I had to take some of that responsibility myself, y'all. That can be considered a freeing thing. Now, for me, it was just something that had to happen. I had to come to grips with the fact that, it wasn't just him who messed this up. I messed this up too. I was immature as well. I was crazy acting too. I was not ready. We were not ready. So being self-aware is very important into moving forward into a better life. That being said, I consider myself a people person too. And I say this to say self-esteem, self-awareness, because we all know, the phrase, it's not what you know, it's who you know. I mean, if I wanted to improve my life, if I needed to make some corrections, I didn't want to be just this old turtle in a shell. I didn't want to be a introvert. I knew that I needed to show people who I was. I wanted to build a network. I wanted to, and it wasn't just that I wanted to. That's a part of who I am. I'm a very talkative person, from what my siblings say. So I wanted to relate to people more. I got out there. I made friends, or I made peers, or I was conversational at work, things like that. And speaking of work, another self-aware moment was when I was working at the assembly line. I knew that I couldn't stay there forever. I knew that a decision had to be made as far as staying at the assembly line and moving forward, even if it meant I had to take a pay cut. Now, when I say the assembly line job, They were paying people good money back then. But I knew that was a trap. And the reason why I knew it was a trap, because I had my parents and my daddy in my ear telling me, explaining it to me. I was like, I can't be stuck, at this place. I know that it looks like good money, but in order for me to move ahead, in order for me to save my situation, in order for me to save my son, these are the next steps. So I quit that assembly line job. Thankfully, because of my preparation, which I believe I'll be talking about soon, I found a job that was a career-related job. Even though it was a pay cut, sometimes you have to take a step back to take a step forward. Sometimes you have to take one step back to take 2 steps forward, But you have to decide, is this something that is going to benefit me in the short term, or am I going to be looking long term? All the thoughts going through my head. This is how you become self-aware. This all relates to, you have to have self-esteem to be self-aware. You have to believe in yourself. Now, let's talk about the last component, which is having your goals set and planning accordingly. And I'm going to start this one by talking about me wanting to get remarried. Now, I had a son. I knew the benefits of a 2-parent home. I knew how it made me feel to have my mom and my dad. And I especially knew the outcome as an adult. So yeah, that was on my goal sheet and on my planning list was, I'm going to find me another husband because I'm not doing this alone. I still don't feel wrong for it because I've been married now for 10 years, okay? So it wasn't no shame in my game. I knew I wanted a second husband, okay? And I did what I needed to do to make myself available, to date, to see what was out there and, set myself up for success. It's no different from any other element that we've just already talked about. Finishing my education. That was a plan. That was a goal. I did the research that I needed to do. I researched different schools. I researched different programs. I researched, how am I going to pay off this debt? I still owe $5,000. How can I get this charged off? Found out I can file it in bankruptcy. Yes, I could, and yes, I did. Thus, I was able to go back, finish my education, which was also a part of my plan, a part of my goal, a part of what I knew I needed to do to set myself up, okay? I've always been a hard worker. I guess, I really didn't know that I was working hard until I looked back and reflected on all the stuff that I was able to accomplish and all the things that I did to help change my life. And when I say I did, y'all, please don't confuse it for me coming across selfish or like I know I didn't need help. No, I needed help. That's why I talked about the support system, which is also something that I encourage you all to give, whether it didn't come from your family, whether it comes from peers, whether it comes from just a close related group of people that you know now. You gonna need somebody down here on this earth to help you through problems and to help you get to the next level. So then I always like to say, me and the Lord did that. I love the Lord. I love him, and I know that he's been here by my side throughout it all. So again, my main takeaways, if you want to change your life around to save your situation, all this didn't happen in a short period of time. This happened in a 7-year span. 7-year span. You take it step by step. Don't rush the process. Take things one at a time. Get yourself out of the situation you in, no matter what you got to do. I had to sleep in my mom and daddy closet with my son when we moved back home. Now, mind you, the closet wasn't that small, but it was a closet nonetheless. So take your time, follow these steps, get yourself a solid foundation, get yourself a support system, get yourself an education by any means necessary. Education, you're going to have to learn something to excel in life. Education comes in all different forms nowadays. And then get yourself a partner. Get yourself somebody that's going to help you. Okay, 2 heads are better than 1. All right. I hope this helps you guys on today. Follow and subscribe for more.